welcome to another minimalism video. This is my first experience with KonMari, the paper category. This is another one that I thought would take forever, and it actually wasn't that bad. For the most part, in my office, I had a fair amount of my paperwork organized in manila folders, and I still do. A few things, but I definitely did get rid of a ton of stuff. So I was keeping checkbook stubs of bills that I had paid and all the stubs of the bills that I had paid and things like that. And I went ahead and I got rid of all of that. Now, I have two accordion folders. I have a larger accordion folder that is for bigger pages and things like that are harder to like fold and break down. And then I have a smaller one that's more for like the bills that come in the mail, and I mark on them whenever I've paid them, if I paid them with a check, if I called over the phone, if I did automatic withdrawal, whatever. I write that on there and I file it. Now, I used to keep all the backlogs of that because I was told that you always had to, but honestly, I'm just keeping the most current year, and at the end of the year, I'm getting rid of them, so that way I'm not keeping paper. I do feel better keeping somewhat of a record and a copy of what's been going on for like the last year, but I don't find it necessary to keep multiple years anymore. I also don't keep multiple years or months of my check stubs or anything like that, although I do keep those at work. But I'll take like the bottom half of the stack and I will shred it. I do like to keep those though, just in case there's any issues with my time or things like that. We have to use those to reference to make sure that HR did key in our time correctly and that we got paid correctly. And so I do keep a couple of months for that, just for possible issues as far as getting paid goes, but otherwise I don't just keep them to keep them anymore. Some of the stuff that I did keep as far as paperwork goes is there are a few manuals that I did keep, and not necessarily the manuals. I did do a couple of the suggestions from Laura from How to Get Your Shit Together, where you just take out the page or the pages that are in English that you might possibly need. And it wasn't necessarily manuals. It was like a particular page that I've gone to a gazillion times to fix one particular type of issue or something like that. I also kept like warranty papers just in case, like if the warranty was still valid, only because not always does the company keep that on hand, and if they don't keep it on hand, it's up to you to keep that on hand. And so there are a few things that I made exceptions for. And then the other thing that I made exceptions for was keeping my old tax records. But other than that, I pretty much got rid of every other piece of paper that I was keeping for I don't even know why. The only thing that I've added since going through this process is all the paperwork as far as my house goes. The house that I live in is owned by me and my father. And recently we put my name on the house as well. So it was just under his name. It's now under mine, and we did that through a refinancing. That's a lot of details, but I do have to keep that packet while I'm still paying on the house. So there's that. And I also bought a new car, and so I've never done that before, and so I have all the paperwork for that as well, because while I'm paying on it, I want to make sure that I retain those documents. But once they're paid for, the only things that I really need to keep after that at that point is like titles and things like that. So pretty exciting. But otherwise, I really did. I cleaned out paperwork. I cleaned out old, I'm going to say the word textbooks, which you would think go under books. However, in some of my classes, while getting my ag degree, in some of my classes, they never gave us like books. They gave us books that were made at a print shop down the street, and they were made up of our PowerPoint presentations with blanks in them. We would fill out the blanks, we would write our notes, and they would include our homeworks, our test reviews, everything like that, like any projects that we were going to do, we would have all the prompts in this, and they were called books, but they were more of like a workbook, and they were kind of more or less homemade. I mean, a company did it, but they were basically homemade. And so I kept a lot of those just to keep my work and because of my interest in that class. But I finally decided to go ahead and part ways with majority of all of that stuff, and I went ahead and recycled it. Because I haven't looked at it since I graduated almost 8 years ago, and although I do still have an interest in it, in books, the few that I really, really kind of wanted to keep, I went ahead and just kept the textbook, not my personal work. So I kind of felt like that was a compromise there. But otherwise, the only paperwork that I could consider clumping into this is all of those recipes that I had in a tub. And those, if you have seen a couple of my previous videos, I did not get rid of any of those. I am taking small chunks at a time up to work, and on lunch breaks, I am typing up the ones that I want to keep, and once they are typed, I am discarding them. If it's one that was clipped out of the newspaper that I would not like to keep, I'm just going ahead and discarding them. The only ones that I am keeping after typing are the ones that are handwritten by family members on index cards, because I want to do something really cute with those. Because that's my only connection. Some of that's the only item that I have from that person, and it's their handwriting. And I just think it's really cool if I keep all of those. Either I'm gonna either spend like some good money on like a really nice recipe box to kind of preserve them all in, or after I type them and I start putting this recipe binder together, I'm going to be putting everything in a protective sheet. I will put the original index card in with the new typed up copy just to keep a copy of it for family records, I guess. But anyways, that's kind of the only thing that I had with paperwork. I try not to keep a whole lot of paperwork. My dad, on the other hand, I'm worried about helping him with paperwork eventually. It's exploded. He keeps everything. He keeps everything. But I don't really keep receipts. The ones that I do keep, I'll scan. Yeah, I don't really keep a whole lot. Whenever I bought my new car, I went ahead and I got rid of all the old receipts of work that had been done on the truck that I got rid of. So some stuff I do keep only like for a time period. I don't know, about every other year to every year, I go through my different categories of type of receipts that I keep, like one's from the doctor, one's from the vet, one's for car repairs and things like that. Car repairs, it depends on what the repair is. If the receipt is just for like an oil change, those I'll get rid of. But if it's like massive like work and things like that, I do tend to keep those, only because if I ever sell back a vehicle to an individual and not to a dealership, I would like to be able to tell them everything that's been done to the vehicle since I've had it. And that's just me personally. And so I'll go through and I'll get rid of oil changes and things like that, like I said, like routine maintenance. But anything big, like whenever we had to repair the AC or change out the plugs or anything like that, I want to let somebody know when we did it and what we did. And the same thing goes with like the vet. If it's just like a routine checkup or something like that, but if it's something that I may need to know in a little while, like the surgeries that they've had or something like that, or any medications that they've been put on, I like having that extra backup, and I keep that in my accordion file so it doesn't take up too much room. So otherwise, I don't really keep a whole lot of paperwork, not anymore, to be quite honest. I do keep my tax stuff, and I have all of my tax stuff for probably, I don't know, since about 2010. because that's whenever I started going back to work while I was in college. I did work before that whenever I was in high school, but obviously my parents claimed me under their taxes, so I don't even have that stuff anymore, and hopefully my dad doesn't have that stuff anymore. But I do have from 2010 on up, so this next year I'll be able to get rid of the oldest because I am trying to do the you need to keep 7 years type thing. I might this year scan all of that stuff in just to make it more streamlined and save it on my external hard drive, but I don't know. My taxes don't take up a whole lot of room. It's literally like 3 or 4 pieces of paper per year. And so I don't feel as bad keeping that information in a hard copy as well. So that's basically it for paperwork. Paperwork for me was super easy. I didn't have a whole lot of it, and what I did have, I definitely went ahead and relinquish a whole bunch of stuff. The stuff that needed to be shredded, I did shred it. I think I got rid of 2 or 3 bags of shred. I honestly can't remember. I think it was closer to 2, not 3, because I like really push it down in there and try to fit as much as I can in a bag. I did keep a tiny little box. You can see it behind me on the floor. That's kind of where I put stuff to be shred nowadays. It does have some paper in it, and I need to shred that, but other than that, I just kind of wait until that box fills up, and then I shred it, and I get rid of it. I don't shred like one piece at a time. I kind of find that, I don't know. I get tired of shredding really easily, but it's weird. You would think like every time I find a piece, I would want to do it then and get rid of it. But I actually would just rather do like a chunk at a time and not have to like only have to deal with it a few times a year rather than like every time I have to shred a piece of paper. I don't know. That might be weird. But anyways, my first experience with KonMari's paperwork category was actually quite easy, quite breezy, and was simple for me. It wasn't hard. I didn't have a whole lot. I mean, I did, but not as much as most people. I'd already kind of been culling it, and now it's definitely not a whole lot. I don't keep that much anymore, and I clean it out once a year around tax time. So that clean out is going to be happening pretty soon. So that's it on paperwork, and yeah, I guess I'll wait to do all of my shred and go through all my stuff a little bit early this year whenever I start up the KonMari method again. So stay tuned for that, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.